For this week's video, we wanted to make a ball python breeding starter guide for recessive projects. Whenever you're starting a new project or getting into breeding ball pythons, one of the best pieces of advice that we've ever gotten was to stay focused and have a goal, have a specific plan in mind on how you're going to get there. This video will have three main parts, and that's going to be the initial snakes that we'd want to buy, the equipment and any other expenses that we'd really have to focus on within the first year, and then finally the hatchlings. And all of them kind of focus on that first year of initial investment, and there's a specific reason why that you'll see in a second. All of the prices are going to be listed, and we're going to have that throughout the video. When it comes to any equipment or specific snakes from Morph Market, we're going to try to include all of the links below, but we're not affiliated with any of them, so this is just simply trying to give you additional information and help make this video as high of quality as possible. The two main genes that we're going to be focusing on are Axanthic, because we love Axanthics, and Clown, because clowns are just gorgeous and like the king of combos. The very first snake that we want to buy for this project is this adult female Axanthic. And the reason why we picked her is because she's not quite ready to breed, but she would be, as given that she eats a couple more meals in like the very near future. So this way, you're not having to buy an Axanthic female hatchling and then waiting 2 to 3 years before you can even start the project. This essentially allows you to start breeding within the next 6 months, or at least start pairing within the next 6 months. She is going to cost us $500 if we pay asking price. In this situation, we're just going to assume that we pay asking price for all of them, though a lot of times you can negotiate. So $500 for her asking price, and then $65 for shipping is what we put down. The next animal that we want to buy is a het clown Pastel Inchi female. Now, she is way smaller. She's only 300 grams, but again, when we are looking at projects, we're looking in the long term, especially when it comes to breeding ball pythons. So while this might not specifically get us anything right away, she's going to be awesome for the next year and the year after that. Asking price is $300 and her shipping is $55. The last snake that we want to buy is going to be our sire. And the reason why we're only getting one male instead of a male for each of our females is because sires can go with multiple females. About 3 to 4 is about safe. And he is actually going to be a hatchling. And the reason why we went with a hatchling for him is that it's a little bit cheaper of an entry price to get a hatchling than it is to get an adult or subadult snake. In addition, males only require about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year, before they are ready to breed, where females need about 2 to 3 years before they're ready to breed. So by getting the male hatchling, we are planning to start pairing 1 year from whenever we start this project. This male hatchling happens to be a fire for his co-dominant morph, and then he is a full visual clown, and he is going to be awesome to pair with our het clown female because we're going to be able to produce more visuals, and he is going to be the basis to providing the clown genes for our double recessive project with our Axanthic female. So his list price is $550 plus $55 shipping. All of our snake purchases, at least the initial investments for this project, is going to end up costing us just a little bit more than $1,500. The second section of this video is going to deal with the equipment and other expenses that are related to breeding ball pythons. And while a lot of people probably have either had ball pythons as pets or have had other reptiles as pets, if you're interested in jumping into starting a ball python breeding business, there is a little bit of a difference between the equipment needed to keep a ball python as a pet versus breeding ball pythons. A lot of pet owners use terrariums that are either glass or PVC, and they look beautiful. But when it comes to breeding ball pythons, we are going to end up having a lot more snakes than what's really feasible to put them all in either glass terrariums or PVC enclosures. We are also trying to be somewhat price conscious, so we're going to talk about some ways that you can build your own rack that might not necessarily be the most professional or look the prettiest, but they 100% work and they take awesome care of your animals. And the very first piece of equipment that we are going to end up buying for this whole ball python breeding starter guide project is a 4-tier wire shelf that we had purchased at Walmart. And you can get them for about $40. And this is just going to simply be a shelf that holds all of our enclosures. The next is one of the most important things, probably the most important thing that comes with the equipment that we're going to buy, and that is 4-inch heat tape, because we are going to be lining the backs of all of our shelves with this heat tape, and this is what's going to provide the belly heat that we are going to use for our ball pythons. Last on the shelf itself is a VE thermostat, and the reason why we say this is you 100% need to use a thermostat whenever you are providing belly heat or just heat for your ball pythons, because without one you can burn your snake and it can kill your snake. It's awful. And without using a thermostat, even if it's one of those mats that say they don't need one, there is way too much risk involved. And honestly, when it comes to the grand scheme of everything else we're paying, $85 for a thermostat isn't that much money. The other things that we are going to end up getting, initially at least, is 3 of these 41-quart tubs, and that's what's going to end up housing the ball pythons in. We are going to get a block of Reptichip for our substrate, and we're going to get hides and water dishes and things like that. And all of those prices total for our equipment is about $250. We are planning on having 3 ball pythons initially. And with these 3 ball pythons, they are going to eat roughly about once a week. And they'll go on fasts, and some weeks that they'll refuse because they're in shed or any of those reasons. But we need to plan on the price of that feed. And a lot of people end up breeding their own rodents, but in this situation, we are going to assume that you're going to buy your rodents. And for this, we went about $3.50 on average per rodent, because the prices change on size. And for one meal per week, times 3, because we have 3 ball pythons, we are looking at about $540 in an entire year for feed. Now we can move into the most exciting part of this video, and that is our pairings and hatchlings. In the first year, we're going to take our fire clown male that we got, gorgeous guy, and we are going to pair him to our Axanthic female. All we are going to end up getting from this initial pairing is a bunch of normal looking snakes, but all of these normal looking snakes will be double heterozygous for clown and Axanthic. So while they look normal, they pack an awesome punch. And why we want to make these double heterozygous snakes first before anything else is that we need the females from them to grow up to be about 2 to 3 years old, roughly, and weigh about 1,500 grams. So once those babies, those double hets, are ready to go, we are going to pair a male from them back to the females, and hopefully we have a 6% chance we are going to hit a double visual. And this double visual will be an Axanthic clown. And we'll get some clowns, we'll get some Axanthics, and all of the other ones that aren't the Axanthic clown will have a possible chance to be heterozygous for whatever gene they don't show. Our second pairing, which hopefully will be ready when we're ready to go for the first pairing, but if not, it'll be the year after, is going to be that fire clown male to our het clown Pastel Inchi female. And the reason why we went with this combo is because it's going to let us produce a bunch of clowns, and also 100% het clowns, which are going to be really, really good to sell and further our base in recessive projects. So a couple of the highlights that we want to look at are the visual clowns that we produce from this pairing, and that is going to be fire clowns, just like our male, and they're going to be worth about $500 to $600 depending on exactly the time, but these prices are pretty stable because clowns have been around for a while, so you're roughly looking at that. Next one is just regular clowns. These are going to be about $200 to $300 depending if they're male to female, and awesome, awesome, gorgeous snakes. And all of the females that we get from this pairing will probably want to hold back regardless of what they are, just so we can further develop our base in the clown project. Finally, the one that we're really, really, really wanting to hit from our fire clown male to het clown Pastel Inchi female is a firefly Inchi clown. And this is a gorgeous snake. It's also worth quite a bit of money, $1,800 for this one. So once we factored in all of the initial expenses that we paid for the snakes, the feed for them during that first year, and all of our equipment, we are looking at spending about $2,400 $455. By only focusing on 3 animals at first, we don't overextend ourselves, we keep our feed costs down, and we keep our enclosure costs down. So ultimately, this is just one way that you can go about jumping into breeding ball pythons, and there's plenty of different genes and there's plenty of different morphs. We definitely want to keep making videos like this in the future because we think they're pretty fun. It's kind of like playing D&D with snakes. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.